just before Joe joined the band, he and I, for about 6 months, were playing together, playing live shows, jamming, hanging out. I think we did a rock concert, Don Kirshner's rock
Oh my
concert,
gosh, yes.
that was called Joe Walsh and Friends. You can see it on YouTube, I guess. We were just having so much fun playing together that when Bernie quit and left the band, he was a very logical replacement to kind of help push the band away from country rock and more into rock and roll. So now that Joe was in the band and I knew how he played and we had learned to play very well together prior to his joining, it became time to write songs and music for the Hotel California record, which was going to become the Hotel California record. So I sat down and said, okay, how can I write something musically that Joe and I can do exactly what we've been doing in these other projects together? So I wound up coming up with that progression, the opening introduction chords of Hotel California, and my little 1-year-old daughter's bedroom served as my home recording studio. When she was awake, I'd run in there and I had a reel-to-reel tape recorder and I'd record back there. So I went back and made the beginning of this little demo and went 3 or 4 times through the progression and just turned it off. That when we were sitting down to really focus on what we were going to record for the record, I went back in and finished, I think, 16 or 17 song ideas that were aimed more at a harder kind of rock and roll direction. One of them became Victim of Love,
Yeah, I
which
love
was
that
on the
song.
Hotel California record. And the other one was this kind of Spanish flavored, I think Don Henley gave it the working title of Mexican reggae. And it later became, after we wrote the lyrics, it became Hotel California. Now, the interesting part of Joe and I collaborating was when I made the demo for that, I sat down at the end and I said, look, I would write this for 2 guitar players. So I picked up a Les Paul and I played the first solo and then picked up a Strat and I said, okay, well, Joe would play something kind of like this. And then I put that down. I'd pick the Les Paul up and go, well, I'd answer him with something kind of
Oh
like that. I was
wow.
trying to like emulate exactly what Joe and I had been doing, but it was me playing both roles, just a demo, just a reference. And so um, when we got through recording the basic track, I always thought Joe and I would go into the control room, sit there, plug in a couple of guitars with the amps out in the studio, and just go at each other like we'd been doing on all these like freewheeling jams that I'd kind of emulated in my demo. So that's exactly what we started doing. And Don Henley came walking back in the control room and stood there and listened and said, what are you doing? I said, well, we're doing the guitar parts for the end of the track. He says, no, no, no. You have to do them like the demo. I said, I don't remember what that was. That was over a year ago. I just made that stuff up. It was just a reference. He says, no, no, no. You've got to do it like the demo, because he had been listening to it for like a year now. And so we were in Miami. I had to call my housekeeper in California, have her dig through my cassettes, if anybody remembers what a cassette
I
is.
just found a bunch of them.
She found it, she put it in a blaster, played it, and held the phone up to it, and we recorded it in the studio in Miami on a reel-to-reel tape recorder. So then I had to sit down and learn what I had just made up off the cuff. Played it pretty much exactly like my demo. As a matter of fact, I still have that cassette demo that I've transferred to digital. I listened to it a couple of months ago and went, that's remarkably like the real record. There's a few Joe-isms in the end of it, where Joe kind of took what I'd set up and did his Joe thing. Then we got to the end, Joe says, we need to have something that goes diddly 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 diddly. And I went, well, what is diddly diddly diddly? He didn't play it, he said it. So since I knew the progression really well, I took what he said and he and I worked out literally bar by bar, chord by chord through the progression what the diddly 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 was. And then we'd go back and we'd play and record one bar, and then we'd go back and record the second bar until we really assembled that harmony thing on the very end from the beginning. It's a 2-minute solo and harmony thing on the end. And so it was really great working with Joe, collaborating with Joe. It was a lot of fun playing with him. He and I know how to do this musical dance together where one person steps forward and the next person steps forward. And we kind of have the grace to allow each other to their spotlight or their time to play what they want to play. I miss him a great deal and had a lot of fun making that record with him.